Right, here are the two strains that are going on in politics today in the US and in Europe. One strain is from people who say, look, we're all now multi-faith societies, so to say we're Christian countries is actually to somewhat diminish or demean people of a different faith. That's one strand. The second strand are people who see a kind of assertiveness, particularly from Islam, frankly, from around the world, and they start to react against this and say, look, you know, I'm a Christian, I'm proud of it, so what's your problem, right? Type of thing. You can actually see that in European politics now. I mean, the last few elections in Europe have underneath the surface, that is the argument that's going on. It pops up in immigration maybe, but really underneath it's a cultural issue to do with people's concern about whether their society is being altered, and they are somehow, you know, kind of like they feel, right, we're a kind of host nation, but suddenly the guests are taking over the house a bit, and what's going on with that, right? Now, how do you make sense of that? And I mean, one way of making sense of it is what Nick has just said. So you say, look, we are a Christian people, but this state is religiously neutral. Another way of doing it, because we had this debate over the European Constitution, where there was a move to say, to refer in the Constitution for Europe that we were developing, to refer to our Judeo-Christian heritage. Right? Now, in the end, the French objected to that for very kind of French reasons, which was basically to say, look, we had the revolution about all that, and we're not sticking anything in there about it. So, so that was that in the end sort of took care of the problem in a way rather fortunately, because otherwise there was quite a disagreement between people who tended to say, look, we have a Judeo-Christian heritage, so why can't we say that? And others who said, look, if you say that, you're sending a signal, say, to Muslims within Europe that you're not really fully part of the family. Right? So I think your conflicted views are very, very typical. And I think that the only way you make sense of it in the end is to say, we are proud of our traditions, and if we are predominantly a Christian nation, we are proud of our as Christians, we're proud of our faith. But when it comes to the sphere of the state itself, then that is something where we are all equal, irrespective of our religion. Now, we're about actually to have, in the context of the Middle East peace process, an actual real-life example of this dilemma, because the Israeli government are now saying, we want to designate Israel as a Jewish state. Now, by that, they do not actually mean, since 20% of the Israeli population are practicing Muslims, they do not actually mean that you've got to be Jewish in order to be an Israeli. But exactly that conflict is happening. So some people, and some people who are Jewish within Israel, are saying, if you do this, you are effectively getting rid of something that's very intrinsic to our state. Because actually, we are not a Jewish state. We're a state of Israelis, right? So this is right at the heart of this cultural question that's going around everywhere. And I think the only way to make sense of it is in a sense to take the sort of type of structure that Nick's outlined, which is why the academic nature of what we're trying to do in this course is important. Because you need, in the end, to try and make sense of some of this. And the only way of making sense of it is to say that is to make sure that, in a sense, people in America don't feel they're denying their heritage, or people in Europe don't feel they're denying their heritage, at the same time as making it absolutely clear that in front of the courts, when it comes to the vote, when it comes to your voice, we are completely equal. Now, these are difficult things to do. One of the reasons why the interfaith notion is so important, in my view, is that is one of the things that can help cure that, what is almost an emotional conflict within people about their identity.